Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikhil Modi, and I am the Customer Experience Manager at Phillips Machine Tools. On behalf of Phillips and the UR team, I would like to thank you for joining into our webinar on Introduction to Cobots. Without much delay, I would like to invite our Managing Director at Phillips Machine Tools, Mr. Terence Miranda, to talk about Haas automation and how the UR Association is going to boost the productivity of our Haas customers. Over to you, sir.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this informative webinar on the future of manufacturing and automation, courtesy Universal Robots, who are the pioneers in collaborative robots. My name is Terence Miranda, and I am pleased to represent Phillips Machine Tools India, a part of the Phillips Corp Machine Tool Distribution Group. With over 50,000 plus Haas machine installations globally, in the US, India, Sri Lanka, and the Middle East, we are the largest Haas distributor worldwide. Today, more than ever before, it's all about the competitive edge. Phillips, through our automation division, and Universal Robots, through their path-breaking collaborative robot technology, have come together in the Indian market to provide cost-effective, flexible, and safe automation solutions for a wide range of CNC machine tending tasks. As we all know, the present pandemic has revolutionized the manner in which CNC machining is looked at globally. India is certainly no exception. Machine shops worldwide are looking at innovative ways to automate and simplify processes. This is exactly what Cobots do, and Universal Robots exemplifies this. Simplify, automate, work collaboratively with CNC machine operators to increase efficiency and promote workplace safety. This is really the big difference today. Cobots put the power of automation and customization in the hands of the customer, just like the introduction of CNC did several years ago. We will now play a brief introductory video to Haas in India, the way our customers see us, and we will then proceed to the informative and technical UR presentation by Pradeep David. Thank you.
Haas has played an important role in achieving our goals.
We are now confident and we can deliver the components to our customers with a tolerance accuracy of less than 10 microns.
Haas gives us that edge over others to meet the requirements of the customer on time, every time.
With the help of the Haas machines, we have been able to achieve the accuracy level of 10 microns.
Every successful industry needs a trustworthy partner, and for us, Haas is the one of them.
Anyone can sell you a machine, but I've never seen a company so committed to training you on it and ensuring that you're running it properly as Haas.
We want a trusted partner in terms of who will take care of our machining requirements, and that is how we have been connected with Haas.
We are very happy with Haas machines, and thank you so much to support us as a good partner.
Haas is the one of the good metal machinery manufacturers.
Buying from Haas is like becoming a part of their family.
Haas has played a fantastic role as far as service is concerned to keep the machines running 24/7. Very little downtime.
On Haas machines, we cut titanium material and PEEK material, which is usually very hard to cut. But on Haas, we don't face any problems.
One of the things that we've seen is that the Haas is a pretty reliable machine to run even these small cutters. It runs pretty smooth, we don't have quality issues, and it just shows you the integral build of the machine itself is very good. Even I'm surprised that for an application which is as crucial, as critical, and as tough as graphite, we could run the machine for almost 10 years without any major repairs or refurbish.
Life as well as the consistency and minimum maintenance breakdown is the main characteristic with the machine tools.
Haas machine come up with very innovative idea.
The other good thing about Haas is that they have not stopped innovating. They have always worked on better equipment, better feed rates, better spindle designs, integral spindles now. So that has really helped us increase our productivity over the years.
One more aspect about Haas is that you can even add a robot to run the machine. They are offering auto door opening facility anytime in the future as per your requirement.
We bought the Haas machines because of very good quality to price ratio.
Considering the performance and cost wise, we came to conclusion that Haas machines are better machines.
Haas is being instrumental to produce good quality product for OEM.
ਕਾਫੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਆ ਕੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਹਾਸ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਰਡਰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਆਰਡਰ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹਾਸ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਦੀ ਮਸ਼ੀਨ ਆ।
1 year we added 9 more machines from us. Now we have maximum shifted export component on the Haas machine, vertical milling center as well as turning center also, and it's fulfilled our global requirement.
So the technical backup from Haas team also is very good in setting the parameters, in setting the tooling and all other parameters.
Haas helps students to understand what precision machining means.
Haas Machines has been a great addition to our mechanical engineering laboratories, and this is giving exposure to our students to the high-end machining, the CNC machining, and the latest concepts in the manufacturing industry as such.
So far, the journey with Haas has been really pleasant, and Amina wishes and hopes that we continue this bond for the times to come.
Thank you, Terence sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Pradeep David, General Manager for South Asia at Universal Robots, to present the introduction to Cobots. Also, I request all our attendees to type in your questions. Mr. Pradeep would be answering them after the presentation. Over to you, Mr. Pradeep.
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. Thank you, Terence, for organizing this webinar, and greetings to all on behalf of Universal Robots. So, I'm not able to share my screen right now, Nikhil. Okay, now I'm host. Excellent, thank you so much. So hopefully you all can see the screen, and once again, on behalf of Universal Robots, we are pleased to partner in India with Haas. We've heard what a great company this is in the video clip that just went by. Most of you, I think, are Haas users, which is why you're attending today. And this alliance between Universal Robots, which is nothing but this arm, which looks like a human arm, if you would. We've got this alliance going on in the US, and recently we have started with Phillips in India. Very proud to bring this technology to India, along with Phillips, well-known company in machine tending in India through Haas. So a couple of things. If you have questions, please do type it into the chat window. One of my colleagues is also online. His name is Akash, and he's a technical specialist. He'll probably answer the questions while we're going along. So don't waste. So just type in your questions anytime you want to, okay? So I think you see from this inauguration, this screen, what we're all about. Okay, this is nothing but a human arm, okay, which can load and unload your parts very accurately. We have about 10,000 of these devices around the globe, okay, 10,000 or so on machine tending applications. In other words, loading and unloading CNC machines. So by far our #1 application. Universal Robots is a Danish company. I represent the India operations. We've been here since 2016. That's when we started in India. Okay, the company itself is about 10 years old. Okay, and we are the leaders. Now, since COVID is the big topic of today, let's just get that out of the way. While we talk about machine tending, it's also important to understand that what we have here is just an arm. Imagine it like a human arm, or your operator had a third arm. What could it do? So in this case, in Singapore, they've used this arm with a dispensing machine, and it goes around a hospital, spraying hospitals and keeping it clean. This is in Denmark, where you see that it's actually doing throat swabs. So instead of having a human being and this guy potentially COVID infected coughing into the face of the doctor, we have actual tactile feedback at the end of this arm, and it can very delicately go and pick up the sample from the back of your neck, of your throat, sorry. And so that's another example. Some people are using it with an UV wand and an AGV, and so it can actually be put on a mobile device. And let's say that this particular workstation, or you have a factory and you had a COVID attack, one particular operator had COVID. Now, what do you do? We see that in many factories in India now. I'm hearing in Gurgaon, some large factories have got COVID infections. We've seen it in the newspaper with Bajaj, for example. So you would send a device like this with a UV wand, and it would actually sanitize that entire place without any human contact. Okay. So while you have your Cobot to do your machine tending, you can also use it for doing things like this. Did you even imagine you can reuse your robot? A robot is thought of as a fixed device sitting with a cage around it. Not so with a Cobot. We're talking about collaborative robots. These are friendly to operate next to human beings. Okay, they are lightweight and they can be moved around. So you don't need to think of it as operating on one CNC machine alone. Maybe you don't have enough orders on that machine. I can take it to another machine within the same shift. Okay. Again, a remarkable concept which is never thought about with robots. Okay, so yes, it also helps with social distancing. When you have a Cobot like this, by the way, it can be hung from the ceiling, it can be machine mounted, it can be incline mounted, it can be pedestal mounted on the floor, very lightweight and easy to use. And in this one in Chakan, Pune, you can see that L'Oreal plant, they're actually dismantling the robot, 4 bolts, and they take it to a different line. So it's actually doing palletizing at the end of line of a shampoo bottling line. And when they run out of orders for that line, they just move it to a different location and use it there. Okay, so huge concept of, number one, quick deployment. In other words, I can quickly deploy it, but as important, I can flexibly redeploy. In other words, I can use it for a COVID application at one stage. I can use it for machine tending at another. I can move it to yet another machine within the same shift. Okay. So these are unique concepts that Cobots provide. Democratized automation. You look at the lady who's now programming the Cobot. This happens to be in Pune. And she doesn't look like a robot programmer or anything like that, right? She's just a regular operator on the shop floor. So the concept here we have is, if you know how to program your cell phone, you know how to do WhatsApp, and just about every Indian is an expert in WhatsApp today, right? So we can teach that person how to program a collaborative robot. Okay? And I'm going to show you an example today as we go along. And finally, there's a concept of partial automation. You notice that a human being and a robot are working close together. There's no fencing. In this case, it's bottling. And I know you all are CNC manufacturers, CNC users, so may not be relevant to you. But think about it. I don't have to put a fence around it. So if I've got space limitations in my factory, notice that the human and robot can work safely right next to each other. Okay, so these are some of the value propositions. Now, you've all probably been to fairs, Intex and all that, and this is your CNC machine on the left-hand side, and you've seen a robot, tending that CNC machine. Well, what happens when you have a robot? You have to put a huge cage such as this around it. Now, if you have limited space in your factory, that can be a huge challenge, right? Plus, can you even imagine taking a robot like this, which probably weighs 150 kgs, and moving it around your shop floor? Impossible, correct? Once you bring it for one application, it's probably going to be sitting there for the rest of its life, right? On the right-hand side, you see a similar CNC machine, okay, okay. However, it is now on a trolley. So you move it in as and when you require. Notice this trolley is from a company called ProFeeder. So if I have small parts, I can make a matrix of parts. It becomes my in-feeder, okay? So the Cobot, then all the operator has to do is come and load this in-feeder. Let's say you have a night shift and you want to operate the night shift unmanned, okay? So the second shift guy, when he leaves at 9 p.m. or whatever, he can arrange all the parts on the in-feed trolley and hits the button, go. And when he comes back next morning, the Cobot has now loaded the CNC machine, and the machine has produced its parts, and basically you've got a full shift of running without any operator, okay? huge benefits, huge space. Now if I wanted to go service this machine, I don't have to have a lockout, tagout device and all the hassles of shutting down production. I can just walk right next to it. And by the way, if the Cobot impacts me, it just stops. Then I hit go again, and it starts from the position that it left off. All right. So hopefully you're able to see in this picture the difference between an industrial robot, okay, on the left, and a collaborative robot on the right. Okay, huge space savings, very lightweight, very quick to deploy and redeploy, etc. Okay, so the technology used here, UR is Universal Robots. It's called force and power limited. In other words, the reason it does not hurt an operator. And by the way, there's an industrial robot in, I think it was Maruti plant. You heard about it, right? A few years ago, a trained technician went in to program it. He did something wrong. The robot pinned him against the side of the fence and killed him, right? There was almost a pandemonium there with the workers' union, etc. So these things do happen. Accidents do happen with robots. Robots are designed to go from place to place, right? They don't know if there's a human being in between. Whereas a Cobot, on the other hand, is totally safe. Every motor that you see here for the 6 degrees of freedom are designed such that it cannot crush a human being. It's safe, all right? Which is why we have got safety, and I'll show you which agencies have certified it, right? So hopefully you see the difference between a traditional robot and a collaborative robot. Okay, this is new technology. By the way, do you know when the first industrial robot was used in a factory? I think it was General Motors who used it in 1961. 60 years ago, robots started being used. However, Cobots, collaborative robots, only started in 2016. Actually, our company has been around since 2008, but the standard, the global standard that allows humans and robots to work together only happened in 2016. I'll talk about that in the next few slides. Once again, if you have any questions, please, if you go to the top, you'll see something like this show up, and you can click the Q&A button and you can just type in your questions, all right? Now, it may be a very good time to understand how many of you use robots and how many don't. So, Nikhil, may I request you to just run a poll if you would? Or I can run it right here, poll. Okay, here it is. I've just launched a poll here which says, are you a robot user? So we'll just give it about 20 seconds. It's a simple question. Are you a robot user or no? So another 10 seconds. All right, I think we've all answered. So I'll end the polling right now. End polling and share the results. So it says actually that 17% are users of robots. So today you probably use robots. My general impression of this would be that you're using industrial robots, not Cobots, because Cobots are fairly new. And a whopping 83%, okay, so let's say 80-20, the 80-20 rule has worked in this poll. 80% are not using robots or Cobots. So it's a great session you're attending. Hopefully we'll be able to help those who are not using Cobots and see how this can be valuable to you. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. So once again, industrial robot on the left, collaborative robot on the right. Very similar to the previous picture. You notice there's a huge fence around this. So once again, if you happen to be an SME, MSME, most probably your shop floor space is limited. You do not have the luxury of putting a big fence around every robot, every machine, and using up that space. Okay, space is very expensive in India, and it's prime, right? However, you notice the Cobot like this, put on a little trolley. He moves it from one CNC machine to another, and so let's say that particular Haas machine today, you've got a huge amount of orders. I can move the Cobot to that machine and load and unload. And maybe at the end of this week, let's say, I'm done with the orders on that machine, but I need to move it to a different machine. I just take it on this trolley, put a little locating pin on the floor, and choose the right program, and I'm off and running, okay? So Some people now look at it as a piece of OPEX as opposed to capital expenditure. This is capital expenditure. You buy a piece of equipment, it sits there and it's going to be used. What happens if I run out of orders? Well, tough luck. You've bought a robot and it's a fixed thing. It's going to be sitting there, right? Here we're saying, don't worry. You run out of orders. You want to take it to another location. Maybe I want to use it for COVID treatment, of some facility. Or I want to lend it to my neighbor, to my brother down the street because he's got some manufacturing problems. I can just unbolt it and take it there, locate it on the floor and it can be used. Okay. So unheard of benefits of collaborative robots being so easy to deploy and redeploy. Okay. So I know you're thinking, is it really so easy to move around? Well, let me just share with you that I have a Cobot right here in my house. I'm talking to you from my house. Okay. And I've plugged it. I don't have three-phase power here. I have single-phase power, but it's right there next to me, and I'm going to show it to you. Programming, how it programs, how to run it. Okay. So by the way, if you have a wedding going on, you can take your robot and have it serve drinks, and then take it back to your factory next day so that it could be servicing your CNC machine. Yeah. So that's just a tongue-in-cheek, but yeah, you can be very, very innovative with this. Think of a Cobot as a tool. Please don't get this mind block that I'm putting a robot. How the heck am I going to maintain a robot? My people are very simple. No problem. You can maintain it, and I'll show you how. Okay. If you are interested in the technical specification, it's about a book that thick. You can go online. ISO technical specification 15066, 2016. So 2016 is when it was ratified. Okay, which basically allows a Cobot and a human to work together in the same space. Okay. I won't go through the details. It's a very thick, but if you're interested, it's all there. 17 safety functions. It's EN ISO so-and-so 13849, category 3 PLD certified by TUV Nord. So those of you are many of you I know have export orders, and your customers require you to have certain levels of automation, right? I know that Bosch, for example, we have an MSME in Pune who's supplying parts to Bosch, and Bosch has said, you better get Industry 4.0 ready, and I want you to be using things like Cobots, which are Industry 4.0 compliant, such that to show that you are meeting the required standards for automation in the future. Keep your plants future ready. Okay. Mr. Gore raised his hand. So yeah, maybe we haven't had a question. Can we request Nikhil to unmute Mr. Gore, and we'll see what the question is.
Sure. Pradeep, I think you will need to...
Okay. So there's some question here which says, can we use on 2 VMCs? And the answer is yes, we can use it on 2 VMCs, provided your cycle time requirements are okay and the span is okay, right? You have the machines close enough. I'll show you some examples where we are actually tending 2 machines with 1 Cobot. So that's a good question. What is Blue Eye technology and can it use in Cobots? Blue Eye technology. Blue Eye technology. I'm not very familiar, sir, what you're asking about Blue Eye technology. If you don't mind detailing that, maybe I said something and you caught it as Blue Eye, but I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. Anyway, feel free to keep asking your questions. Akash, who's online, will also be able to answer them as we go along. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this one right now, it shows you, let's take a look at a quick video on what's happening here. So we have a Haas machine. We have a robot, a Cobot rather, collaborative robot. It's got these parts. It's going to the input tray, picking up, it looks like some kind of a pipe and or a bar metal stock, something like that. And it's putting it on that machine. Not sure what it's doing there, but gauging or something is happening there. Then it's coming to the Haas machine and it's waiting for the door to open, and it now loads the machine into the chuck. By the way, 30 micron accuracy can be possible, 30 micron, okay? With a UR5E, I'll explain these categories to you pretty shortly. And why is there a Y-shaped, why are there 2 grippers? because one gripper is pulling out the part that's machined and the other gripper is actually loading the part. So you save a little bit of time, right? So your cycle time is enhanced. That's why you have two grippers. Okay, so once again, it's picking up that stock, putting it to that gauging station or whatever station that is. Some operation is happening there. And it now brings it to the Haas machine. And there it goes. Okay, puts in the raw stock, pulls out the robot and starts the machine. Okay, so in this case, it's done by E-Tech Engineering, a UR5. Okay, it's a UR5. So in this case, it's 100 micron accuracy, not 30 micron. 30 is with a UR5E. Okay, just to be clear, this is my mistake, but UR5 will give you 100 micron repeatability, whereas a UR5E will give you 30 micron accuracy. So they had a problem of night shift running, you know, so maybe you also have this problem. You don't have operators at night, so you can come fill up the input tray, and this machine is going to be making parts right through the night. Okay, and when you come in the morning, your output tray is all filled, and you can start filling this tray up for the Cobot once again. Okay, so a small company with diverse customer base requiring flexibility, right, and difficulty for facing growing of labor costs. In fact, I would say unavailability of labor nowadays, skilled labor, right? In our situation, a lot of labor has gone home and God knows when they'll come back. Quick turnarounds required and increased volume. So these were the kind of things that we were addressing at this particular customer location. Okay, simple case study. We'll take a look at a few more as we go along. Okay. Many of you, I mean, I see 100+ people have attended, so maybe you have read a lot of articles in the press. You know, a silent Cobot revolution is brewing in Indian workshops. You know, what is this happening? Why is this so popular, this technology of Cobots? So let's try and understand that. And here is an operator. This is in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad. And he's using a collaborative robot to load and unload machines. You notice this guy, the operator, he's not a robot programmer. He's just your regular CNC machine operator. We have taken this, put the teach pendant in his hand. Within a couple of hours, he has become a robot programmer. Okay, we've raised his skill level. We've reduced your skill level as the owner, as the CEO, on the dependence on people. Okay, so let's take a look at this particular video at Ahmedabad.
Welcome to Ahmedabad, India's fastest growing city. This small city is home to some of India's biggest textile manufacturers. An industry that was established here as early as the 19th century.
The entrepreneurship talent over here was able to bring the mechanized manufacturing almost 140 years ago. I am Ashish Nagarsheth, Managing Director with SMEW Textile Machinery Private Limited. We are a textile machine manufacturer based in Ahmedabad, India. SMEW was started in 1958 and it's been our family business since then. We make textile winding machines. Our main product is the soft package winding machine, the rewinding machine, and some customized machines for winding as well. Gone from MSME to SME, which is a small and medium scale enterprise from a micro scale enterprise.
In January 2017, SMEW Machinery decided to purchase and deploy the UR10 Cobot by Universal Robots.
A universal robot with its simplicity and non-fencing requirement met our requirements specifically for this machine. The UR10 robot is basically our operators find it very easy to use. As far as operator friendliness is concerned.
મારું નામ ચૌહાણ છત્રજી જસવંતજી છે. હું એસેમ્બલરમાં 5 વર્ષથી નોકરી કરું છું. એનું પ્રોગ્રામિંગ અમે ઈઝી કરી શકીએ છીએ. મેન્યુઅલી કામ કરી શકો અમે એકદમ સ્પીડમાં કરી શકીએ છીએ. પ્લસ એમાં એક્સિડન્ટ યુનિવર્સલમાં થઈ શકતા નથી. નહીં એટલું બધું નથી.
The safety features were the most important part. The second important fact was the UR10 robot has a 360-degree movement in all the directions, which a normal industrial robot would not have. And that was one of the reasons why it could move in a very constrained space. The advantage with this application for us is that we are able to run the machine for much longer hours than what we would be doing using human labor. Before the robot was installed, we were making about 30 pieces a week. Now we are able to go from 30 pieces to almost 80 to 90 pieces per week. So that's a jump of almost 3 times. It's been very good for us because the return on investment is less than 12 months. We hope to have a long-term relationship with Universal Robots. We look forward to investing in more robots in the future and working along with the robots together.
Just like Ashish, at SMEW Machinery, many more small and medium-scale enterprises are choosing the Universal Robots Cobots as an affordable solution to take their operations to the next big milestone.
Okay, so I think you saw a very happy MSME user there that is not so dependent on his operators anymore, right? So one important point here is, this is a study done by Frost and Sullivan. So the reason you're attending this seminar is obviously to get more new technology into your plants, right? You've all heard of 5G and you've heard of AI and deep learning and all that, right? But in advanced manufacturing, you all are in manufacturing, you've got CNC machines, Haas machines. Automation is the way to go. And in automation, collaborative robots has been defined as one of the 50 disruptive technologies, okay? So if you as an owner are now looking to future-proof your factories, collaborative robots is one of the top 50 technologies for you to look at, okay? Do not look backwards into, even robots, in my opinion, are backwards because that's 60-year-old technology. Cobots are pretty new, 2016 onwards, right? We'll show you the benefits now of cobots. Number one, it is Industry 4.0 compliant, okay? So if you are supplying to a large MNC or you're exporting, I'm sure that your end user, your customer is going to insist on Industry 4.0 compliance in your manufacturing, okay? Now, I'm not going to go through the definition of Industry 4.0. It's a very large definition, 26 different levers. But the important one that we're going to focus on is human-robot collaboration, okay? So human-robot collaboration is important enough in the definition of Industry 4.0 to have its own category, okay? So people understand that humans and robots, when they work together, they give you a huge new capability, okay, that just humans alone or just robots alone never could give you. So here's the example. We consider this the factory of the future. Assembly lines will have human, robot, human, robot, human, robot. Why? Because there are some very repetitive tasks which can be done beautifully by a cobot, right? I want to drill, I want to put a screw in, or I want to just put some dispensing application, or I want to load a CNC machine. Whereas some things require a human being. It's very complicated. To automate that will cost me a lot of money, but the human being is very smart. He can kick things in place, and if something went wrong, he can make sure the line is moving. But I need him to be safe, right? So I need a human and a robot to work together, all right? In fact, there's a study done by MIT. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston did this study. This is not a marketing gimmick or anything. This is a technical study done by a very well-reputed global university. The experiment was done at a BMW factory. This is all in the US. And the result of this was that they found an 85% reduction in workers' idle time when they collaborate with robots. Okay, so people found a dramatic improvement in productivity when humans and robots work together, as opposed to humans alone or robots alone. Okay, so this was a huge finding, and we are now seeing the benefits of that. Okay, so let's take a look at what are the benefits you get with a collaborative robot. Number one, you just plug it into the wall. Single phase power like I have in my house right now. Okay, so it's self-maintenance. I don't really need to have somebody coming in and changing the oil. There's no oil to change, right? There's no grease to change, because I know the 20% of you who have robots, you probably have an AMC, from the robot company coming in and changing the oil or the grease, recalibrating, changing the battery. There's no such maintenance required. Yes, there is self-maintenance required. In other words, I need to clean it down. If there's a lot of oil mist on this, I need to wipe it down. You know, I have a box, a control box. If there's a fan on there, if the fan gets clogged, you're not going to get cooling. So make sure you, so these kind of very basic self-maintenance. I want to make sure that the mounting bolts are properly, you know, they've not got loose, either the end of arm tooling or the, you know, the robot itself. Very easy to program. In less than half an hour, you can actually get it programmed. I'll show you how. Every axis, this is a 6th degree of freedom, like a human arm, right? I mean, you've got the base joint that moves, you've got the shoulder, you've got the elbow, and you've got the 3 axes at the end, the wrist, if you would. So each axis can go plus or minus 360 degree. Go and check out an industrial robot spec. Nobody will have this, where every axis can go plus or minus 360. But you might say, why? So what's the great deal about that? Well, the great deal about that is the amount of space it uses. It uses very little space because it is so flexible, with every axis being able to rotate. Okay, I can move it around from place to place. We've just shared that with you. This is in Bajaj Auto. Bajaj has over 150 Cobots in Chakan and Waluj. And you can see the robot is up there with a vision system. And as the engine block of the 2-wheeler is moving there, it gets a snapshot. Oh, I need to put 12 bolts there. And it gets a snapshot of that. And then the screwdriver comes in and puts the screws automatically. The human being or the lady here is working right next to the robot safely. She's doing the inspection and CMM and whatever else she needs to do. Okay, human robots working together. Very low power consumption. In fact, the UR5 uses only 150 watts, even less than your light bulb probably at home. Okay, I see a few hands going up, so maybe it's time to look at a few questions. We are using Cobot already for some pre-painting. I'm interested in more examples. Pre-painting operation. Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Yavalekar, I think you asked for painting. I'm glad you asked that question. I will now show you as part of my video some painting applications. Is there any provision for foolproof, mainly to aid any kind of accident while at work? Yes. So that's a very good question. Madam Sneha Chandra has asked this question. Is there any foolproof? You know, in other words, actually, frankly, nothing is foolproof. We humans are very smart. We can always defeat a system. But let me explain how it works. When I say a robot is safe, a Cobot is safe, right? I've got all the technology built in that if an operator accidentally comes into contact with it, it's not going to hurt him, right? I'm going to show you an example also of that. However, what happens if you decide to put a knife in the hand of the robot? How safe is that going to be, right? So I guess the point, nobody's going to put a knife in the hand of the robot, but maybe your part has a lot of sharp edges, okay? And that sharp edges, it's got nothing to do with the robot. Maybe it's your part, or maybe it's your end effector tool, right? That could damage or hurt the operator. So in that case, we have certain things, we have certain tricks we can do by, let's say, pointing the wrist in an inward direction, so the part is not exposed to the operator, right? So it's very important to understand when we say it's safe, make sure that you do a risk assessment of your entire application, okay? So just because the robot itself is safe, in this case, the Cobot, doesn't mean your application is safe. Maybe you have a pinch point in your conveyor. We need to look into that. Maybe you have a certain point of collision with a sharp object, which could be a tooling that you're using elsewhere, right? So it's always important to do an assessment of the entire application, not just the Cobot alone, okay? So I hope I answered your question. It's not foolproof, but yes, through a self-assessment or an assessment of your project, we can make sure that it's totally safe. By the way, there's about 65 patents are there in this. It looks very simple. It looks like a toy. Some people say, "Yaar, ye to khilona jaisa lagta hai, mera factory mein kaam karega ki nahi?" And when somebody asked that question, we actually took him to a TVS plant right here in Bangalore. And he saw the robots operating for many, many years, you know, 24/7, and then he was convinced, yeah? And it's not that easy to have a piece of machinery to work safely next to a human being. We have 65 patented technologies inside it on all these different aspects, okay? So it's not easy, it's new technology. That's why it only started in 2016. And you may be thinking, am I going to be exposing myself like a guinea pig? And am I going to be one of the first users? Answer is no. There are over 44,000 deployed globally, 44,000. Okay, so it's by no means new technology. How about India? You saw a couple of examples. Now let's take a look. Oh, I showed you SMEW. Here are some examples of fellow SMEs like you. I'm assuming many of you are SMEs, okay? So let's assume that some of you are SMEs or MSMEs. Are some of your competition or some of your fellow MSMEs using this kind of technology? Absolutely. Let's take an example. This is Craft and Technique Industries in Pune. Let's take a look at what he has to say.
To my father that I said to my father that I need some capital. He said, "Why you need money?" I said, "I want to start business."
Craft and Technique Industry basically manufactures precision components, mainly for the automobile industry. And today in 2018, I'm proud to say that we are almost 70% export.
Overall, India, we talk about unemployment, but the true fact of majority SME sector is that they don't get people. I can bring about 100 SME people who will tell the same thing. So the best combination, I told that we want to have robots. Instead of investing in 5 CNCs, invest in 4 CNCs and buy 1 robo. If not individually as in a robo, but 4 machines and 1 robo put together 5, the payback period will be faster.
I visited Japan, where there are robots working at the same time on the assembly line. Now the problem there is that entire assembly line is fenced and nobody can get in. Collaborative robots was one very important point going ahead with Universal, because we got a lot of operators working on the shop floor and we did not want to seclude an area just because there was robotic operations there. The components that we are manufacturing range from about a kg to maybe about 5 kgs in weight. And when I checked for different robots available in the market, Universal Robot did definitely top that list. And UR10 could lift up to 10 kgs in weight. The robo completes all of its auxiliary operation in the exact time that it requires for the second machine to finish its operations.
Initially, we got about 15% increase in production, and I'm pretty sure that we will be achieving 30% increase in production.
We've introduced auto inspection on the robo. So the robo actually keeps the component onto an inspection fixture, takes feedback from that fixture, and then decides whether the part is okay or not okay. So our customer is rest assured that none of the parts going to him are defective. Now 40,000 parts have been machined by the robo. Those 40,000 have already reached the customer. I have not faced any kind of rejections at the customer end.
I'll just stop the video for a second here. There was a question, can 2 VMCs be handled? So I think you see here, the Cobot is in the middle, right? It's mounted on a pedestal, and within reach of both sides, it's got 2 machines. This is a very common application where we have 2 CNC machines being tended by 1 robot.
We need to have at least 10 robots. That is my foresight. I'm quite hopeful that we should be able to achieve that. I would call on my fraternity of SME that, boss, come on, that's the time has come that SME should also be all automated. It's not the prerogative only of large scale industry that they have robots. Those who can afford to run VMCs and CNC lathe, they don't have to think about payback period. Robo is just a block within your mind. You have to remove that block and take a decision and go ahead with investment. And it will definitely improve your operations.
Okay, so I think you got a good idea of an SME using that. During the questions, I saw that somebody had about painting. So here's a quick example of painting being done by the Cobots.
So once we have put this universal robo into production, it's hardly 2 months. And what we have observed is we are getting a better quality product. The rate of rejections or rework have reduced drastically. And furthermore, we intend to increase the productivity also. What we were doing, let's say if we were doing X quantity previously with manual interface, now we are doing X plus 2 with the robo even running at 50% of the speed. So in a couple of months time we'll increase the speed, and then of course we'll go almost 1.5 times what we were getting previously with the human interface.
So that was a quick example of painting. We have several more. And one last example of an Indian SME using it. Now take a look at the factory. You will see that this is a very small factory. And yet the lady who's programming it, just a regular operator. Take a look at this last video.
मी सुहास पिटके श्रुती इंजिनियर. कंपनी एक स्मॉल स्केल कंपनी आहे, तरी पण आम्ही रोबोट लावायचा निर्णय घेतला. याचं कारण म्हणजे पहिली गोष्ट मशीन इफिशियन्सी. डाऊन टाईम कमी होता. मशीन इफिशियन्सी मॉनिटर केली. रोबोट लावल्यानंतर आधी मी 300 पर डे जॉब जे करायचो ते आता मी 400 पर डे पर्यंत नेलेले आहे रोबोटचे. हे जे जॉब मी जे सप्लाय करतोय हे सर्व लाईन आयटम्स आहेत. म्हणजे माझा आयटम जर का वेळेत कंपनीपर्यंत नाही पोहोचू शकलो, माझ्या कस्टमरपर्यंत नाही गेला, तर तिथं लाईन स्टॉपेज होतं. एक तर रोबोट कोबोट असल्यामुळे, ह्युमन इंटरफेस असल्यामुळे तो वापरणं फार सोपं होतं. युनिव्हर्सल रोबोटचं प्रोग्रॅमिंग हे एवढं सोपं आहे की मग 1 दिवसाच्या ट्रेनिंगमध्ये मी प्रोग्रॅमिंग पूर्णपणे शिकलेलं आहे.
मी रोबोट वापरायला 1 दिवसात शिकलो. मी कुठल्याही अडचणीशिवाय रोबोट वापरू शकतो. जो माणूस स्मार्टफोन यूज करतो तो रोबोट वापरू शकतो.
इंडस्ट्री 4 रिव्होल्युशन ही कन्सेप्ट जी आत्ता नवीन आलेली आहे त्यासाठी मी आत्तापासूनच प्रयत्न केलेले आहेत. म्हणजे मी स्मॉल स्केल असल्यामुळे लोकांच्या मनात की रोबोट फार महाग आहे, तसं नाही आहे. ॲक्च्युली रोबोटपासून खूप वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे फायदे आहेत. आत्ता मी दुसरी एक मशीन नवीन आत्ता घेतलेली आहे जस्ट 15 दिवसापूर्वी. त्याचंही माझं प्लॅनिंग चालू आहे की त्या मशीनलाही मी रोबोट लावणार आहे.
Okay, so hopefully you've seen now how SMEs in India are using this. So I hope if you're an MSME owner, you are now making a decision that yes, I need to do this because it's highly affordable. You can see many of your peers are doing it. It's something you can maintain internally. It's something you can use in many, many different applications, not in just one application. So your ROI calculation is extremely compelling, okay? It's Industry 4.0 compliant and it's future-proofing your factory. So very, very powerful reasons to start using this technology. So I would suggest talk to your Phillips salesperson. They can get you started on this journey very quickly. Okay? So what are the business benefits you as an MSME get using Cobots? Number one, you get increased capacity. Your quality goes up. You saw that in the Catty video. He had 0 defects, okay, on his parts, 40-something thousand parts that he had sent. You have a constant throughput. Are you worried about your labor? After Diwali, I don't know how much labor comes back. You're always worried about your labor, correct? Somebody's sick, somebody ko COVID ho gaya. So constant throughput when you have something like a Cobot loading and unloading your machine. 24/7 operation, so increased uptime. Reduced footprint, and this is a very important one. Many of us have problems on the amount of place we have. I just saw the question, can we handle 2 machines with 1 robot? Probably you have space limitations. We have many guys in India, SMEs, handling 2 machines with 1 Cobot in between. Plus, their operators able to go in between because there's no fencing to service the machine or do other operations. Maybe there's some manual operations, right? So very important one. Less than 1 year payback, that's a little bit, questionable. You've seen a couple of examples of 1 year payback like SMEW video I showed you, but that may not always be the case, okay? It may take you 2 years. If you decide to use it in multiple applications, it may take you 6 months, so this is variable, right? Easy to move and fast to redeploy. So yes, it's easy to move around and fast to redeploy, etc. in low volume, high mix production environments. And you empower your workers. You make your factory now an attractive place to work. You've got Cobots, so your workers are not dealing with monotonous, dull jobs. You're actually upskilling your labor, right? You're making your factory a much more attractive place to work in. It won't be hard for you to keep your labor happy out there, okay? So there are a few more questions coming in. My suggestion here is, Nikhil, if you don't mind, just I have Akash Panchal on the one of the attendees. If you can make him a panelist, he can actually keep answering the questions while I'm talking. Okay?
Yeah, he's doing it already. He's a panelist.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So, okay, let's look at a quick ROI calculation. Remember, I showed you a couple of pictures here. For example, this one, New Engineering Works, is a company in Jamshedpur, which is a SME using about 7 robots. Now, we don't have time to show the video, but I'll show you the ROI calculation. Okay, so his calculation, he has CNC machines. For 3 machines, 3 shifts, 10,000 rupees a month times 12 months, and an increase of 10% per annum. This is in Jamshedpur. He's making commercial vehicle parts for Tata. So his cost for the first year is about 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs for the second year, 13 lakhs for the third year, right? The project that we suggested to him cost 30 lakhs. This is with a robot and with some input and output conveyors, some tooling, all kinds of things for about 30 lakhs, right, to automate his machine using, I think it was UR5s if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5 kg payload. Well, he had to take a loan for 30 lakhs. And his cost now, this would have been his cost had he gone with manual. But now his cost is 30 lakhs times 15% was the interest that he has to pay for the loan, which is 4 lakhs 50,000. And then the non-cash expenditure, the depreciation he has calculated at 15%, which is another 4 lakh 50,000, right? So his current expense, okay, was 10 lakh 80,000. With the robot, with this 30,000 investment, his investment is only 9 lakhs, etc. as he goes on for every year. In fact, we also did some calculation on his productivity because he got, with the workers, he used to get 24 hours. Now he gets 23 hours of productivity. His quality went up a little bit. And so when we did this calculation, in the first year, his return was 10 lakhs. In second year, 12 lakhs. In third year, 13.8 lakhs. Okay, so ROI was about 2.5 years in this particular case. So he actually, this is a very simple Lalaji calculation that he did, he says, I can understand this. I don't understand all the big things you're talking. This is how I calculate. And he put one robot in. Within 1 month, we got a phone call from the guy saying, I've been leaving money on the table. Come and put 6 more robots for me immediately. Okay. So we put in now, he's got 8 robots in a small little plant when he realized that he's actually printing money starting 2.5 years. Okay. How did he sell it to his bankers? When we went and talked to him, the bankers were actually at our presentation. Okay, so we actually convinced them and showed them how people around the world are using this for machine tending and how a small SME in Jamshedpur can benefit from it. Okay, so very simple calculation. Yours may be slightly different, but very compelling. Okay. Okay, so moving on. What can cobots be used for? Okay, so somebody asked a question, can you use it for painting? Absolutely, yes. So yes, we are focusing on machine tending today, but a cobot can be used for lab analysis. We're using it for many COVID cases, by the way, in labs today, okay? Innovative. So if you have innovative engineers in your factory, innovative, smart guys, make them look at a cobot as a tool. Don't make them think of a robot as a cobot as a robot that's fixed and only going to be doing machine tending. Think of it as a tool, like you think of your drill as a tool. I can move it to where I want it and solve a particular problem. For example, I may have some screw driving needs. I've got a huge order of 300 so many parts and I need all the screw driving to happen. I can move my existing cobot from the machine tending application, use it for screw driving, and then take it back. Okay, by the way, we have people making omelets and dosas and all kinds of things with robots, or bartending. So that's a different application that you can use it for. Hundreds of applications on the web if you want to see that. Pick and place is one of the most common applications. Assembly, if I want to put parts together. Quality inspection, very, very common nowadays. For example, at Maruti, they put a camera at the end of the robot. And as the final car moves out of the assembly line, it takes about 128 pictures. The robot moves it to different locations. Is the radiator cap on? Is this thing tightened properly? Is that thing, in place? All that is done. If all those things pass, then it's sent out, So inspection is another big one. Screw driving, injection molding, gluing and dispensing, another huge one. The windshield of your car, you have to put that sealant around it very accurately. That is being done by cobots. Welding applications, packaging and palletizing. Okay, so today, while we are focusing on machine tending, I just thought I'd make you aware that these are the different applications. Somebody brought up painting, you know. So think of a cobot again as a very versatile tool. For machine tending, the robotic machine tending increases spindle uptime by an average of 10 to 27%. This is based on our experience. We've done about 10,000 cobots on CNC machines, okay, so around the globe. So anywhere from 20 to 27% spindle uptime can be expected. Okay. I'm just very quickly showing you just the different types of applications. Okay, you can see on the top left is just doing a pick and place application of glass. Okay, on the top middle you can see this is the glue dispensing application, right, where it's very accurately loaded dispensing glue. Okay, on the top right you can see an inspection application where a camera is moved, let's say from the sidewall of the tire to the tread of the tire to the other sidewall, right, and then when this tire is removed, the other, just similar to your CNC machines, you can have two inspection stations. So the cobot swings over to the other side while the operator loads the new tire. Okay. Bottom left, you can see somebody no less than Jeff Bezos, right? The richest man in the world. He's playing with our cobots with a haptic glove. So in other words, if you're handling radioactive material on the other side or COVID patient, let's say far away, you don't want to be directly involved, right? How you can use haptics to do this. So it's a very innovative product. Bottom middle is, this is in Bosch, has published this on the web. They're making diesel injection parts, and it's going from part to part. Various cobots are there loading and unloading for leak testing and stuff. Bottom right, you can see a cobot sitting on an AGV, and this is at an Airbus plant where it's actually got a camera. It's from the DWG drawing, from the for the AutoCAD drawing of the wing. It locates the side of the wing, and then it actually goes from the screw hopper, picks up the screws, and does the screwing automatically. Okay. So from very simple application that an MSME can use to very complex applications that are used by people like Boeing and NASA, etc. Okay, the whole spectrum can be done by cobots. Here are some more applications here. You can see how it's actually doing the steam iron is being used to do the pressing application while the operators, a human and robot working together. The robot cannot do this folding. A human being is very smart. Whereas this drudgery of carrying a hot iron and doing the pressing, that the robot is doing. Okay, so 4-station thing, and very effectively, let the robot do what it's good at, let the human being do what he's good at. Human and robot working together hand in hand. Okay, here's a polishing application. There is, on top left, they're actually making, I think, laptops, so pick and place, just many, many applications, okay? So we'll get back now to machine tending, which is your focus, and okay. What kind of cobots do we have, and what are my choices, okay? So we have a UR3, which is a 3-kilogram payload, can carry 3 kilograms, means the end of arm tooling plus your part has to be less than 3 kgs. So let's say I'm using 2 grippers, right? One to pick up unmachined part and one to pick up the machine parts. And that gripper itself weighs 1 kg, 1.5 kgs. Now I have only 1.5 kg of payload that I can now pick up because the total weight is 3. And the working radius of this is 0.5 meter. So from this center point to the radius, the maximum extension is 0.5 meter. Then I have a UR5, which is 850 mm. Then I have a UR16, which is 900 mm. And then a UR10, which is the maximum working radius of 1.3 meters. Okay. This is very popular in India, where people are using it to service 2 machines. It's a 10 kg payload, right? So depending on what your end of arm tooling weighs, let's say it weighs 2 kgs, your end of arm, then I can pick up 8 kgs of payload. Okay. And the reach is important, especially if you're trying to reach 2 machines, yeah? However, the UR5 is the biggest seller in the world. Now, what does this E mean? So just like, let's say you bought a car recently, you have the latest version. So the E series is our 5th generation of product, 5th generation, okay? If you take out the E, we have a UR3, we have a UR5, UR16, UR10, okay? That's the older generation. Obviously, it's much cheaper, okay, which is most popular in India when you look at pricing. this is the latest brand. So if you were going to buy a BMW car, the showman, the guy in the showroom will probably show you a BMW 7 Series, right? But you may probably end up buying a BMW 3, right? So that's the same thing. This is the top of the line, okay? If you can afford it, this has got the best technology. What is best about it? Everything is best. The joint technology is 10 years newer, yeah? The kind of gears we use here, the force torque sensor that's in here, that's not there in the old series, you know? But however, if cost is an issue, go back to the UR3 or the UR5. Anyway, your sales guy will help you with that, but that's what it means, right? There's either a UR3 or a UR5 or a UR5E, okay? That's the two choices that you have. E being the latest revision, latest model. Let's now take a look at a few Haas examples. So, because you all have Haas machines, I hope, and here's an example of you are tending some Haas machines. So get the most out of your Haas machine with universal robots. By the way, all these videos are online. You can see them on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in universal robots Haas or universal robots Phillips, and all these videos will show up. Okay, so everything that we're showing you is publicly available on the web, in case you want to show it to your colleagues or somebody else. Yeah. Notice how elegantly it's mounted. A simple pedestal like this, just a box, a beam, and 4 screws, and it's mounted. Okay, 1 wire going out from there for power, and that's it. Now the end of arm tooling, in this case, you can either make your own. In some cases, people make it to save costs. In some cases, you buy a ready-made gripper because you need adaptive gripper, you need force control. Sometimes you even need a gripper that will do the gauging while it's picking up. So there's a company that while you pick up your part, it will also do the gauging automatically. So your throughput goes up and the gauging happens automatically while it picks up the part. Okay, so we have different types of grippers. 2-jaw gripper, 3-jaw gripper, adaptive grippers, force-sensitive grippers, collaborative grippers. There's just a whole different variety. Let us know what you're trying to do. We will help you select the right one. So get with your salesperson from Phillips, and we will be able to help you in the design of what you need end of arm. That's very, very critical to the success of the project. Here, take a look. It is mounted on this little table, the robot. In some cases, the robot is actually machine mounted. You know, we can actually mount it right on the machine. Okay, I'll go to another one. Now we'll go to the Pro Feeder. 154 parts with the dual gripper. I'll just turn the volume down for that. Now you can see the dual gripper at the end. One for the machine part, one for the unmachined part. So this is something typically that will run through the night on its own. And notice the number of tools up there. The robot can pick up a drill, it can pick up a, sometimes a welding gun, some different tools can be there to change the end of arm tooling. I think in this case, they have 154 parts in the feeder here. So all this can be designed. Get with Phillips once again, and what makes sense for you will be, here's another example of a precision loading. 30 micron accuracy was needed for this one. And let's take a look at this video.
Toolcraft in Seattle, Washington is a small machine shop manufacturing parts for aerospace, medical, and defense industries. When a larger order prompted the company to run production 24/7 by adding a 3rd shift, Toolcraft faced a challenge.
Nobody wants to run on 3rd shift around here, but trying to hire for it, they're simply, when you put an ad out, you're not getting very many responses. With unemployment at 3%, we decided to look at automating. We decided to go with the collaborative robot. I like the idea of our machinists being able to work alongside the robot, and that was pretty appealing, not having a safety cage in the way as you do with the industrial robots.
When selecting a robot for a CNC machine tending application, precision is always a very big factor. And when we heard about the new E-Series that was coming out and heard that the repeatability of the UR5 specifically was down to 30 microns, we're very excited as that really competes in the same space as traditional industrial robots. So that was huge for us. The new E-Series robot acts like a human operator because it has force feedback available in all the joints. So we're able to force a part into a very tight, precise locating fixture, and we can force it in there and wiggle it and program that compliance very easily to enable basically a human touch with the robot.
And some of the benefits we've seen right off were an increased production. We're able to staff that third shift, and we went from producing 255 parts a week to 370 parts per week. Along with that, we're able to finish our year's production 7 weeks sooner, thus freeing up that machine to produce parts on other jobs. We're able to see a decrease in cost by 23%. We're going to be able to go and be more competitive on a lot of the long-term work that we have.
We chose a new Connect pneumatic gripper for this application, and a big factor in that was the fact that the new Connect gripper is UR Plus certified. That means it's certified to work with the universal robot right out of the box.
We work with an integrator. He got us going on the first job, and he worked with our manufacturing engineer, Brian. Well, because Brian was able to work with Troy on the programming side 1 or 2 hours, and with that, he was able to jump in and take off with programming Universal Robots. Universal Robots has an academy that Brian went through.
The UR Academy and the on-site training enabled Toolcraft to expand their Cobot application with no external help, adding a rinsing station to the cycle.
So with the Universal Robot, it was neat to see how you can program offline. I'm thinking production's going down. We're going to be down there for 6 hours while he's programming, setting up. We were both pretty fired up on the support that Universal gave us to get that offline program up and rolling. We have one successful installation under our belt, and where we're going to go in the future, I see us installing 1 robot per year. Brian's able to go in, troubleshoot, get us back up on anything that comes up. Having that in-house is key. The next one we're going to look at is to be able to tend a horizontal mill. I think we're up for the task. I really do.
I think the important part of that video is how the confidence grows internally once you do 1 or 2 projects yourself. Right? Those guys understood that their existing people can easily program this. One last one. Here's an example of some multiple Haas machines being tended with a Cobot put on a gantry. This is when you have very large cycle times and you want to use 1 Cobot for multiple machine tending. So if your cycle time permits, yes, this is possible. It's very lightweight, as you can see, something like this. Okay, and it can tend multiple machines. Okay, so yes, putting a Cobot on a 7th axis, as we call it, is a fairly common thing that we see. Okay. So now, what are the benefits of machine tending that you can see? Number 1, it loads raw parts, you've seen that, unloads finished parts, opens and closes the door if your cycle time is big enough, otherwise you would just put an automated cylinder. It blows and cleans coolant and chips from the vise and chuck jaws on the workpieces. So if you want, at the end of the arm, you can put a blower and blow out the chips and coolant. Very commonly done, as you've seen in many of these applications. It communicates with the machine, right? There's an actual interface. We've not talked much about this, but there is an Ethernet interface, there's a Modbus interface, there's a TCP/IP interface, there's a Profinet interface. So if you happen to have a Siemens PLC, you can connect the Cobot to it and take the information centrally to do your HMI, or you want to monitor the robot's performance. How many parts was the CNC machine making, and how many times was shut down, those kind of things. All the communications are inbuilt, which is why it's an Industry 4.0 compliant machine. Post-processing tasks such as inspecting, deburring, and assembly. So these are the benefits you can expect by putting a Cobot for machine tending. Okay. This is an example, once again, the Shruti engineers you saw, new engineering. This is in Madurai, a company called Orolab. These are just 18 to 20-year-old girls. In their salary at the time when they put these cobots in was 5,000 rupees. This is back in 2014, 2012 region, where one very smart engineer decided that, hey, I'm making optical lenses and I need to put cobots. So she's got the teach pendant in her hand, and this girl has got the robot that she's moving around. And today they've become so successful, their quality has gone so high. Orolab provides to Arvind Eye Hospital, but they also ship to 150 different countries. Okay, so their quality has gone up so much, their price has gone down so much that they, instead of firing people for cobots, they've hired a bunch of people because their business has grown so dramatically. It's a great example. What is common in all these examples, do you see? I know you can't answer, but maybe it's obvious. It's all women, right? So that's another theme here. Women empowerment, Rahul Bajaj, this is in Bajaj, he has a dream of having 50% of his workforce being women. And we were able to help him with that, So you can see women here, instead of tightening these 12 bolts, putting the so many Newton meters of torque, the robot is doing the hard work. It's doing the grunt work. Social distancing is being maintained by the cobot. You notice there's 6 feet between the operators, and they can hire women. They don't need to only hire men anymore, right? In Ahmedabad, that night shift, SMEW was able to run night shift. The reason he could not get women to work at night, which woman in India would feel safe to come at night shift? So that's why he automated. But anyway, this is actually showing how women empowerment can happen. Okay, so if you're into that, if you're looking to maybe hire more women, this is another thing to look at. Now, what I'll do now is take a small break from here, and maybe what we can do is, we've been talking about how easy it is to program. See these different women doing it, etc., operators on the shop floor. How easy is this really to program? Is it really that simple, or is there something more to this? So I'm going to stop my video for a second, and we are now going to see a demo of programming it. Okay, so it's as if you were programming it. So give me 1 second. I'm just setting it up here, setting up the software. And Nikhil, can you see this?
Yes, we can.
That's clear.
Okay, thank you. So I'm now turning the thing to my, this is the Cobot, the collaborative robot. In this case, I've got a UR5E. Okay, so it's 5 kg payload. And the teach pendant, you can see it on the left-hand side of your screen. Okay, and this is the teach pendant. And so you can imagine that you are programming the Cobot now, correct? So on the top left, you see of the screen, it says program. So I'm going to go to program. And you notice that the tree out here, it's blank. There's no program in it, right? So I want to basically move the robot from one location to the other to pick up parts and stuff. So I'm going to say move, okay? And it says, okay, move to waypoint 1. So I'm going to assume that this is the point that I'm going to pick up the part. My pro feeder is there, and I'm going to take the part and pick it up from here. This is waypoint 1, okay? So I'm going to say set this waypoint. Okay. And notice up here, it'll show the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, the RX, RI, RZ. So any point in space is defined by 6 coordinates, right? The XYZ, the θ1, θ2, θ3. So that's what you see on the right-hand side. By the way, like any robot, you have these arrows. I can move it up, down on the Z axis. I can move it left, right. I can rotate it, all that stuff. Okay, and I say okay here. And next, I'm going to say a next waypoint. Now, if this is your operator, you don't expect him to know X, Y coordinates and all that, right? So you would ask him now to press this button. You see on the back of the teach pendant, it's a button called the free drive button. So I press this free drive button, and now I can move the robot to any location I want to. Okay? So it's that easy. So your operator can see the part is here, and now I need to move it here. Okay, so he moves it to waypoint number 2, and I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and set this particular waypoint. And let me just do one more waypoint as the drop-off point, let's say. Here's my machine, the machining has happened, and now I'm going to go to waypoint 3. Again, I'm going to hold my free drive button, and say that, yeah, my drop-off point is somewhere here, okay? Something very simple. You can move it to any location you want, and I'm going to say, set the waypoint, okay, okay. So now I have 3 waypoints set, waypoint 1, 2, and 3, and I can say, let's go run this program, okay? So now it's going to say, take me to my first point, the original starting point, and the robot is now moving to the original starting point. And at this point, I say, start the program. So it's going from waypoint 1 to waypoint 2 to waypoint 3, okay? So there's the pickup point, let's say the CNC, the in feeder, the second point, and the drop-off point, right? Now I'm just going to stop this and say, actually, I need to do a little bit more than this, right? So at this waypoint, right after that, I'm going to say, once you reach that waypoint, I want you to wait. Okay, so I hit wait, and I say wait for maybe 2 seconds. Okay. In your case, maybe it's waiting for a proximate switch input. It's seeing that, yep, I'm in the right location. So when this, and in that case, you would say wait for an input. You see one of the choices in the teach pen, it's wait for an input. I'm just waiting for 2 seconds. And after waiting, I hit the set button. So now I want to send a command to my gripper. Okay. So I set, and my gripper will be a digital output. So I say set the digital output to, and which output? Maybe output number 4. I want to set it high. Simple as that, right? Like any PLC, I've got one digital output. Where is the PLC? You can see right here. Here is the PLC. That's all that comes with the Cobot. You've got one robotic arm, and you've got this PLC or the control system. If I open this box, I don't know if you can see it, but these are the yellow is the safety inputs. The gray is the analog inputs and outputs. Sorry, digital inputs and outputs, and the green is the analog input and output. And down here is the communication ports. So I have a USB slot. I have a Ethernet port. So you can see I'm connected Ethernet to my computer, which is how you can see this demonstration going on. Okay. So we close that. All right. So now we get back to the programming. I'm saying set the digital output to on. Okay. So we have set that on. Then I go to waypoint number 2, and then I say wait there for maybe a second or so. And finally at waypoint number 3, again I do a wait for another second. And at this point, I also set that particular output to, which is digital output number 4, I set it to low. In other words, I turn off the gripper, right? Simple program. You can see the ladder logic happening there on your screen. And I say run. Run the program. So it says, okay, take me to my home position first. So I hit this button, and now it's ready. And I say, go ahead, run. Okay, so you can see it moves to waypoint number 2, and now to waypoint number 3. And you can see the program executing on the left window. Okay, your waypoint 1 waits 2 seconds, digital output on. How do I know if digital output came on? I hit this IO, and you can see that digital output number 4 on the top right corner. You'll see it coming on in a minute. Yeah, that digital output 4 came on, and now that means the gripper is on, and now the gripper is off. I'm releasing the part, right? So I think you understand now with this very basic programming that I've shown you, it's actually very easy to program, right? Just a few minutes, you've got the robot moving the way you want to, you've got an output coming on, you've got an input that you're looking at, it could be an analog input, that if I reach so-and-so height level or whatever, only then you turn on that input, right? So it's as simple as that. Once again, I go back to program, and you see, by the way, when this was running, let me run this again. I can also see the graphical view of this, right? And by the way, on the bottom right, you can see I can run it in simulation mode. So I don't need to, if my machine is busy, I can run it in simulation mode, just in graphics and software. And then when I'm happy with it, only then run it on the machine, right? So that's there. And then, by the way, the commands are very simple English language: halt, comments, folders. If I go to advanced, you see in advanced it says I've got loops. Now if I want to get into more sophisticated programming, so I've got sub-programs. So maybe I've got child parts, and I want to have nested loops, right? So this gets to be a little bit more programming intensive. We wouldn't expect your guy on the shop floor to do it. What I did is exactly what the guy on the shop floor would do, right? Scripting. So for example, IIT Kanpur is using this Cobot to do bin picking. So they need to do a little Python programming, scripting to actually do a little high-level stuff, right? That's available. So, by the way, for troubleshooting, you just click on this log and it tells you what went wrong, okay? So-and-so software was installed, or let's assume that by accident, somebody contacted my robot. I came in contact with it. What happens? So in this case, I mean, I went into default mode, but typically what would happen is normally you would not go all the way out of this program. You would go into what we call protective stop, right? I'm just working in the house, so you notice I've got a very flimsy stool that it's sitting on. It's not grouted, so I cannot put much force on it. But typically when you touch a robot, it'll come protective stop. You remove the protective stop and you just continue running from where you left off, okay? So hopefully that's shown you very quickly how to program a Cobot. By no means is that the full thing, but I think to give you an idea that yes, I can do this on my own, right, if required. So let me turn this off now and okay. So I should be back in the meeting now. I'm sorry, is the video available now? Can you see me now? No.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. Okay, okay, thank you. All right, so getting back to here, and let's see, maybe some more questions have come in. I'll take a couple of minutes to see the Q&A. You are using Cobot already for pre-painting. Okay, this is already answered. I think many questions are being answered by my colleague, which is great. So I won't spend any more time on that, welding applications, etc. Okay, so all the questions are being answered. Great. Moving on for the last few slides. I know it's getting long. It's very common to use Cobots in R&D facilities. You know, so if you happen to be a larger company, this is TCS. And you can see that in the innovation center, they've put a robot and, you know, right there, okay? Or you look at Mercedes-Benz in Bangalore, you see the number of R&D people sitting there, and this is their CEO. The Cobots are being used to simulate the automatic parking of a BMW car. So you hit an automatic park, and if it's an S-class or a B-class, you know, we simulate it. There are robots here which simulate where the mirrors are, the front, back, bumpers, etc. And all the software for automatic parking is done in Bangalore. It is then fine-tuned and sent to Germany and then loaded on the car there, right? So we in India and Bangalore, our offices in Bangalore, we help them with all the software, setting up these kind of demos. So if you happen to have an R&D facility, we always recommend one to be purchased immediately by them. Because what Bajaj did, when Bajaj bought their first robot back in 2011, they bought one for the R&D center. The very next year, they bought 23 Cobots from us. Because they realized how easy it is to use, how flexible it is, and how many different things they can use it for, right? So we always recommend, if you have a smart engineer as an MSME, you know, give him one of these things as a tool, and you will see what kind of magic he can work on your shop floor. Because you know your shop floor better than anybody. With one big advantage here, we call it IP protection. When you call somebody to come and do the project for you, you're always worried that my secrets, whatever trade secrets I have, are going to leak down the road. With a Cobot, since it's so easy to program, we can actually do IP retention within the four walls of your plant, okay? Because we teach you how to do it. So it's very easy to show you how to do it, and then you have your own people use it as your own tool. It stays as your intellectual property. Nobody else gets to know what you're doing, which is your competitive advantage, okay? So we have a customer, for example, 10 years later, is still using our Cobot. This is one of the earlier brands of our Cobot. You can see it's slightly different design, but 10 years later, he's still using it in Denmark, okay? Okay, So I'm just going to go a little fast now, but I told you there are multiple grippers available. So this one is a metrology gripper. So while you're picking up the part, either the ID or the OD of the part can also be measured, right? So you're actually measuring while picking, okay? So a lot of people save time on doing that. There's a company that does that. So we have many alliances. Let me also show you this thing called application builder, okay? So here's on our webpage, Universal Robots, you can go to this called application builder and say, I want to build a machine tending application, okay? So by the way, Phillips sales guys, this will be very useful for you guys as you go and talk to your customers, okay? So firstly, you have to select what kind of, it's a 5 kg robot or a 10 kg, maybe I'm servicing 2 machines, so I've got a 10 kg robot. Are you using a pneumatic or electric or adaptive gripper, or should I help you choose? Okay, so I'm definitely going to use pneumatic. Cost is a big issue, so I'm going to use pneumatic in this case. I've got all these people like Shunk and PAB that I can buy it from. Most probably you'll be using a dual gripper, you know, one to load the part, one to unload the part, right? So I choose a dual gripper. And how is the input coming in? Is it fixed or is it a pattern? So maybe just like we showed you, I'm going to have a pattern, you know, 150 parts in a certain pattern. I'm going to arrange and give it to you. The interface, how's the communication happening with the outside world? So maybe I've got an Ethernet connection or a TCP IP. Let's say you have an Allen Bradley PLC or a Mitsubishi or whatever it is, right? So I need to talk through that. And finally, what is the output looking like, okay? And my output in this case is going to be fixed because I had an input pattern, but output is going to be at a fixed location, okay? So I select that and I say now, go ahead and show me the result, okay? And very quickly, right on the web, my application is designed, okay? Because you told me that I need to have a pattern for the input. So it's created a pattern, right? You can choose, 6 inputs, 120 inputs, whatever it is. It's got a Y-shaped gripper, right? Which is a dual gripper. And it's got a fixed output point, only one output point. So now it loaded the part and the VMC is now doing its thing. And now I need to go pick up the part that's machined. And at the same time, I load the unmachined part, come out and load the output on a fixed point. Maybe it's a fixed conveyor and now that goes out. So it's a fixed point, right? So I can see the animation is developed. On the left-hand side, my entire program is developed. Okay, I can take this program and download it into the robot and the robot will work. Now you may have to do some changes, but you saw in a matter of 5 minutes, an entire application for machine tending has been built for you. Okay, so it can't get much simpler than this, right? Of course, there are many variations to this and how you do it and all that, but to get started, believe me, it's as simple. Please don't put a camera and complicated things to start with. To start with, do something simple. Have a fixture that brings a part in at the right point, simple thing like this, and you will get a very quick success, all right? So hopefully that was clear. That's called application builder. I move on. I mean, you may say, what kind of grippers do I have? There's hundreds of types of grippers, actually hundreds. And we have this program called UR+. Notice pneumatic will cost so much, pneumatically intelligent, little more money, electric, even more money, right? So what kind of thing are you looking for? You can choose. That's your choice, right? 21 variants of this particular gripper available. So we have this program called UR+, where partners develop different grippers, different cameras, different types of things for the robot. We post it on our website. It's got nothing to do with us. We just test it. You can buy it from that particular vendor, okay? If you're interested in what you've just seen and you want to learn more, just go to Universal Robots Academy. Go to Universal Robots, click education, go to the academy. There's 9 modules. So take this, give this to one of your smartest guys. He will go through this within 1 day. There are tests to make sure he's understood properly. He'll understand how to set up a tool, how to create a program, and it's free of cost, right? So you can go through this, learn about it. Obviously, if you need more detailed classroom training, we have that on offer. Talk to us, talk to Phillips, we'll arrange that for you. But this is just so you can get started at no cost today, if you're interested, okay? By the way, I didn't talk much about my company. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, has called us one of the smartest companies, okay? And this is along with companies like Tesla, Apple, IBM, Microsoft, etc. You will not notice a Fanuc here. You will not notice a KUKA here. You will not notice an ABB here. That's old technology, like I told you, right? Cobots are new technology. And when you need to be competitive in the future, especially after COVID, you have to be smart. You have to use smartest technologies to give you that competitive edge. Okay, so come talk to us. We can help you on your journey.
Or complicated platforms to perform a repetitive repair process.
What if you had this job as an engineer to service this windmill, 200 meters up in the air? You know, how would you service it? You know, a windmill has lots of corrosion, laminates get destroyed, blowholes get plugged. A smart engineer decided to put a Cobot on a trolley and on ropes, and he put a camera at the end of it. The camera now tells the person who's now at the control room downstairs, hey, I need to do some welding here. It then pulls out a welding torch and does the repair. And this guy remotely is controlling what it does. Or there's a blowhole and a blow tool is needed, you know, where the water comes out from, and it's got clogged with some leaves or something like that, or sea salt, right? It takes out a drill, the camera spots the location, it drills the hole, all done remotely, okay? So this is an idea, in my opinion, of human ingenuity, taking a job that's like this, okay, and moving it to this, okay? So do you have jobs like this that are very difficult to do in your plant? Okay? Understand that a Cobot is nothing but a tool. Okay, it's nothing but a tool in your tool. It's not a robot. Don't think of it as a robot that's there to load your CNC machine only. You can use it to load and unload your CNC machine. You can take it to another location, to another CNC machine at the same shift. Think of it more like a drill. I take it where I need it, use it, and then bring it back. If you think of it this way, your ROI calculation will come to less than 6 months. Okay? And it's a technology you cannot afford to miss out on, because many people are using this now to get that competitive edge. Okay? Don't think of it as just something I bought for that CNC machine and that's all it's going to do, because it can do a lot more. Think of it as the next part of your toolbox. Okay? So we'll end now with a couple of videos. Here you can see, obviously we'll end with a VNC. And on the left-hand side, we'll start this one also. So that's our last slide, and I think I'll end with this famous saying: the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So I hope you found this useful. It's a fascinating technology. I would say don't get left behind on this. Get started small, because it's a very, very powerful tool. And I think we'll open it up to any questions that there may be at this stage. So Nikhil, just open the floor to any live questions that we have. Thank you.
I think Akash has already answered most of the questions on the chat box and in the Q&A section.
Oh, okay.
But if there is any other questions, please, we are welcome to answer them. So Ms. Sneha is asking if the emergency stop is provided.
Emergency stop is provided, yes. So if you see the, I can't, my camera is off now, but yes, on the teach pendant, there's an e-stop, okay? So yes, you have an emergency stop out there. And
Okay. Any other questions from many of the customers that we have online right now? So I think we'll conclude this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep. That was a great presentation. And I hope our customers too would have found it very informative. To all our customers, if you need any additional information on partnering with UR, please contact your regional Phillips engineer who would be able to guide you further. I would also like to thank all our customers who took out their busy time to attend this webinar, and also our panelists, Mr. Terence, Mr. Pradeep, Ms. Adya, and Mr. Akash, for this wonderful presentation and association for Haas customers. We wish you all a very great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.